He was the most outstanding American pilot of World War II. Flying a dauntless dive bomber, he single-handedly sank 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, leading the U.S. Navy to a decisive victory over Japan, creating a monumental miracle in the history of naval warfare. He was the legendary American pilot of World War II. Richard Best. On June 4, 1942, after the Battle of Midway began, Best immediately led the 6th Bombing Squadron and took off from the aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, heading swiftly toward the Japanese carrier fleet. Half an hour later, the 6th Bombing Group spotted the Japanese fleet from an altitude of 14,000 feet. Best immediately ordered an attack. Dozens of bombers began their dive. The Japanese troops responded with anti-aircraft fire, blasting wildly at the incoming American bombers. The sky lit up with dense flak like a rainstorm of bullets. One bomber after another was shot down. At 2,000 feet, an American bomber released its bomb, but unfortunately, it missed the target. Best quickly organized a second wave of attack. This time the Japanese were not so lucky. The bomb hit its mark, and the carrier Kaga was sunk, but the Americans paid a heavy price. Then Best led the remaining 3 bombers to strike the Japanese carrier Akagi. Relying on his superb flying skills, he flew straight through the curtain of enemy fire. He cut off the engine and began a vertical dive. At that moment the Japanese planes were being refueled and rearmed. They had no time to take off and intercept. When Best reached 1,500 meters, he dropped his bomb. Akagi was destroyed in an instant. Countless Japanese planes were reduced to rubble. Best then returned to the USS Enterprise, refueled and rearmed. Without rest, he took off again, this time aiming for the last Japanese carrier, Hiri. At the same time, the Japanese executed captured American pilots and scrambled a final squadron for resistance. By then Best and his team had already reached the skies above Hiri. Japanese fighters quickly launched to defend. A fierce dogfight erupted. The sky was filled with blazing bullets. One plane after another was shot down, but Best had only one goal in his eyes: to sink the last Japanese carrier. He was the first to dive, and once again, using a vertical attack, he sank Hiri, the final Japanese aircraft carrier.